Greetings everybody, I'm Will Kelly, the creator of this channel. First of all, thank you so much for all of your support in the work that I'm doing on this channel, and thank you for all the memories and messages that you're sending me, sharing your history, your personal history of growing up in Elizabeth and the Northern Plains. It's a great honor, and I'm very humbled to be hearing those stories that you're sharing with me, either through the comments on the videos or the Facebook page or private messaging and emails. My name is Will Kelly. I created this channel and I thought because so many of you are being so generous with your stories and sharing them with me, it might be time for me to share a little bit more about my own and why I started this channel in the first place, which is really about you and honoring you and your experiences growing up in Elizabeth and keeping your memory alive. Not your memories, because I don't know who you are. I don't know what your memories are of growing up in Elizabeth. They may be positive, they may be negative, but keeping the memory of you alive, the fact that you have passed this way as the Elizabeth that I grew up with and you grew up in is becoming all but erased through demolitions and privatizations and buildings being left derelict. And from what I can see, a lot of progress that is being made without a lot of heart, which hopefully this channel and creating some reverence for the history of Elizabeth and its people will start to impact some change in that area. That's my hope anyway. And so it's a digital memory that hopefully will honor the experiences that you had and all of the originals that first started pouring into Elizabeth in the mid-50s, and also for young people who weren't around then, to give them a digital history and a sense of their own history that they can feel proud of and hopefully draw some strength from. So I grew up in Smithfield Plains. I was born in 1970 at the Lowell McEwen Hospital. My parents were part of the 10-pound pond movement. They arrived here around 1967 from England. My dad was originally from Northern Ireland and my mum from Stockport in England. They met and married in England, had my 3 older siblings, and then came over in 67, initially staying at the Gepps Cross Hostel, settling in Smithfield Plains soon after that. So we lived on the corner of Tudor and Crittenden Road, Tudor Grescent and Crittenden Road. So my front yard was what is now called the Stebonheath Wetlands and the housing estates. But when I was growing up, it was just miles and miles of creek and paddock. Dust bowl in the summer and a muddy slush pit in the winter, prone to floods and things like that. So as a little kid, it was an absolute adventure. Me and my neighborhood buddies would just head on out in the morning and just be gone for hours and hours and hours, hunting for lizards, avoiding snakes, all of that kind of stuff, avoiding magpies. So what instigated me beginning this channel was I haven't lived in Elizabeth for a long time. I come back regularly on regular visits, but I haven't actually lived there since the mid-90s. And on a return visit several years ago, I hadn't visited my old neighborhood for some time. And so one day I just felt inspired to walk the old streets that I grew up on. And so I traveled over to Tudor Grescent in Smithfield Plains, only to discover that it didn't exist anymore. The road was still there, but a good 2/3 at least of all the houses that had been there when I was growing up had been knocked down, and no new houses were there in their place. So it was just vacant lot after vacant lot. It was quite disorientating initially because I had no physical landmarks to orientate myself, and I wasn't even sure if I was on the street that I grew up on for a while. But as I kept walking, I could see the family home in the distance. To my relief, was still standing. But the homes of the kids that I grew up with and their families, they were all gone. And I remember standing in front of one old family home in particular that had meant a lot to me growing up, and their house just wasn't there anymore. It was like their memory had been erased. It was like they had never been there, and if you had no memory of them having been there, you wouldn't know. And I found that very upsetting, and it filled me with a lot of sadness and then some anger. And then I took a walk over to the Smithfield Plains High School site to check out what was happening there. I didn't even know it had been closed down, let alone was in the sad state it was when I got there, all fenced off, boarded up, vandalized, and left, in a derelict condition. And that was when I whipped out my phone for the first time and started shooting the first lot of footage that would come to be the first video, which was a tribute to my former high school, Smithfield Plains High School, and the people that I went to school with. It was a digital record of them having passed this way, because it was my attempt to honor their experiences. As I said, I was finding it quite upsetting, this idea that choices were being made that were erasing the history of a whole generation of people, as if that didn't matter. And if it didn't matter to the people making those choices, I wanted to let the people that I grew up with, that it certainly mattered to me and that they mattered to me. Even if we haven't seen each other for a very, very long time, we can't separate who and what we are today from who and what we've been yesterday. And that has so much to do with the interactions we had with others. And, no man is an island, as they say. So that's what instigated the channel. That's where that was the first seed, this initial tribute video to Smithfield Plains High School. And then, of course, I started thinking about people in the broader area. And it occurred to me that what was happening in Smithfield Plains and Elizabeth Field, now Devon Park, where I also grew up, that this erasing was being replicated all throughout Elizabeth. So there must be lots of people feeling like their history was being erased as if they were never there. And the idea of that was upsetting enough to me to start expanding my idea of what kind of videos I could start producing. And now it is where it is at the moment, with these little mini docos and things like that, which is really an honouring of you. It's a celebration of you, of the history of Elizabeth. It's for you. It's a celebration of what I call the Elizabeth originals. And it's also for young people who weren't around back then, to give them a digital history, a sense of their own history that they can feel proud of and hopefully draw some strength from. So if you like what I've been doing, please let me know by smashing the like button and leaving a comment. And if you haven't already, share some of your story, your history of growing up in Elizabeth. As I said, this is about keeping your memory alive, not your memories. I don't know what your memories are. And whether they were positive or negative or somewhere in between, like my own, regardless, this channel is a celebration of you, and a celebration of you having passed this way. I've done a lot of really cool things in my life. I'm Brisbane based now, have been for a long time. And over here I've been an actor and a producer, mostly of short films which have screened all over the world through film festivals. Many have won awards. I've done a little bit of television, a few commercials and that kind of thing. But of all the really cool things that I've done, and there's been a lot of them, this channel has been the most meaningful. It's something that has brought me the most satisfaction, personal satisfaction. The first thing I feel I've probably ever really done in my life that really is in service to others, as opposed to just my own personal ambitions. So yes, that's me, and I hope you've been enjoying the channel, and I hope you continue to be a part of this growing community through the YouTube channel and the Facebook page. And I hope this video finds you well and happy, and doing something in your day that you love to do. Until next time, namaste.